Welcome to Thoughts Can Change Your Life with me, Reverend Wolak. We're here each and every day to discuss life, to explore life. And so yesterday in my Sunday talk, I explored the idea of, is there a divine plan? And that's just sticking with me. So it came to me this morning that I wasn't done talking about it yesterday. So I want to take some time and talk about it with you today. And so the idea is, if there's a divine plan, it means that everything's already set up for us. If everything's already set up for us, then guess what? We have no freedom. Our lives are always predetermined. And I can't even imagine that you and I, as individualizations of the expression of love, don't have freedom, that our choices don't matter. I can't even begin to imagine that because there would be no purpose. And I do believe that this awareness, this consciousness that we are, is a creative power and that we use it to create. And I've seen that. So I don't believe there's a divine plan in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And here's the thing that I wanted to talk about today was the idea that how can there be a divine plan if there's only the now? Contemplate that. If there's only the now, and everyone seems to agree to that idea that in reality there's only the now, well, to have a divine plan means there would have to be a future. Well, if there's only divine now, there's no future. So how can there be a plan? So when you really look at this idea of time, you realize that the past is nothing but memory. That's all it is. The past is nothing but memory. It does not have to exist in the now unless we bring it into the now by remembering it, making it a part of the now. And how many of us do that? Just about everybody. We're going to bring that past in no matter what. We're going to let it limit us. We're going to let it be painful for us. We're going to suffer like hell because we're going to bring the past in no matter what. Why? Because everyone brings the past into this now. Do you realize, though, bringing the past into the now is your choice? You can choose to leave it behind, or you can choose to bring it forward. Yeah, that's right. It's your choice. You're responsible for how the past affects you. And I don't give a darn what past event, what person, what anyone has ever done to you. You're the only one. It's not being done to you now. If it's not being done to you now, it's not real. It's not in the now. So then it's a memory, and you get to choose if you bring that memory into the now. So the question is, the best thing I can come up with is, why would we do that? Why would we bring in a past memory that is painful or suffering oriented into the now? Because we've been conditioned. I know as a Catholic being brought up, I was conditioned that suffering is a part of life. And I must accept that as part of God's plan for me, that I suffer to know his goodness. Well, I've come a long way, and I say papakosh to all that. If I offend you, well, that's your problem. You see, here's the interesting thing. No one can offend you unless you give them permission to. How you take what someone says is your business. It's not offensive unless you make it offensive. That's a fascinating concept because we have become such a society that every little thing offends every other person in the world. And I'm going, wait a second. That's not the world of contrast that we live in. Here's the key thing. I wasn't planning on going here, but it seems like I am. Everything that I'm seeing out there is trying to get the world to be a utopian place. It's trying to get the world to be a place where there's happiness all the time, where there's peace all the time, where we experience joy all the time. Do you realize how stupid that sounds? If you really break it down and realize that without contrast, there would be no experience of life, and that contrast is the natural order of things. And do you realize that the experience of contrast helps us become more aware that we're more than this body, we're more than this mind? And when we become aware that we're more than this body, we're more than this ego, anything anyone says has no bearing on us. It's only attachment to the ego and this opioid of the masses that you're going to be happy all the time that causes this nonsense that we're going through. The contrast is there for one reason only, to help us become more aware of our divine, total, perfect nature. And without that, we're never going to become aware of it. We're going to become slaves to our egotistical desires that are unrealistic, that are not natural. What do you think about that? I really went down Pandora's box there, didn't I? I'm hoping I'm pushing buttons. Because if I'm pushing buttons, it means maybe I'll get you to think for yourself. Because that's what I want people to do for me. I want them to push my button so I can think for myself, so I can form my own conclusions and realize, where have I been domesticated to not see the truth that I'm an infinite, whole, perfect, divine expression of love itself? And as that, nothing can hurt me, nothing can harm me, especially words. Do you remember as a kid growing up? Maybe you don't. Some of you are so much younger than me, but maybe you remember this. Sticks and stones may break my bones. What names will never hurt me. That's the difference in that little rhyme between pain and suffering. Pain is when something physical happens to you. You break a bone, painful. You cut yourself, painful. But it being called a name, that's not pain, that's suffering. And suffering, my friends, is a choice. And everyone on the planet has the ability to choose to suffer or to not suffer. Some people may be in a state where they've been thinking something for so long that suffering is the only thing they know. But it doesn't mean it can't end. It doesn't mean that suffering can't stop. It may take different techniques, but it can't stop. So it comes back to the idea, is there any suffering in the now? No, unless you bring the past in, unless you imagine a future. That's not what you want. The past is memory. The future is imagination. Both of those qualities you and I control for ourselves. So in the now, there's perfect peace. In the now, there's perfect freedom. Because there is the now, there is no divine plan. That's the best I got today. And so with that, knowing that I've done the best I've got today, I leave you with that. How can there be a divine plan when there's only now? How can there be suffering if there's only now? I love that. So with that, I say to you, my friends, create a great day. Whatever it is, whatever your heart is calling you to do it, because you're here to experience life in all of its magnificence. Until tomorrow, I love you all. Have a great day. Aloha.